Today I'm going to go in depth on the economy simulation, and it's still a work in progress, so some of this might change, but I'm going to go through the current plan and some of my thought process along the way. I started by doing a bit of research, and I found that generally realistic economy simulations are too complicated for games, and that people recommend cheating as much as possible. The system breaks down into four main categories: people, space stations, businesses, and cargo traders. People are fairly simple. They all have the same list of needs, and each need has a default interval at which people want to act on it, but there's a small random variation for each individual. The needs are sorted by urgency, by how many of those intervals have elapsed since the last time they acted on that need, and they'll try to spend money to satisfy the needs, starting with the most urgent. As soon as they get a need that they can't afford to act on, they'll stop because they need to save up to satisfy the more urgent needs before spending money on anything else. And if at least two intervals have elapsed since the last time they acted on it, they'll always buy the cheapest option to satisfy that need. Otherwise, they'll pick at random, so they get a sort of illusion of preference and variance. And that's pretty much all there is to people, aside from how they get hired and paid, which is completely beyond their control. So let's move on to space stations. These house the people and businesses and run a sort of market for trading goods. The market's algorithm is very simple. It determines price by starting at a default value for each good, and it goes down for every time there's more than 50 in stock, and up for each time there's less than 5 in stock. So basically, as things become scarce, prices go up and vice versa. But while I'm keeping this oversimplified on purpose, there are a couple of complications I wanted to address. First, let's say there's only one company making Pethalou beef, and the market buys 10 units of 50 credits each because the price is high while it's scarce. But then another company enters the market, and prices drop before those 10 units get sold. Someone's going to lose money somewhere. Rather than tracking profit or loss for individual traders, what I'm doing is having the market always buy goods at 75% of the selling price. That means that if prices stay the same, they'll always make a profit. And in theory, on average, they'll still make a profit. The idea is that whenever they make a loss, they pay for that out of the savings from all the previous profits. But that introduces another problem. If they are profiting on average, where does that money go? If it leaves the system, there has to be a new source for money to come in. And that's where mega corporations come in. The owners of the space stations are so wealthy, their resources are practically unlimited, and they'll always pump money into the system by hiring a fixed number of people, thus ensuring there'll always be some people with money to spend on goods, and there will always be a way for businesses to make money selling them. So a station's population breaks down into three categories: people employed by the owner of the station, people employed by businesses renting space on the station, and unemployed. And the unemployed population will be automatically distributed, so there's roughly an even amount across all space stations. Population will fluctuate over time, but I'll set minimums for each station so they never die out completely, unless it's a story event. So that leaves the question of how businesses work, and that's the most complicated piece of the puzzle. To keep it as simple as I can, the businesses share a pool of money with the owner. And that means that if the owner spends all that money on their personal needs, the business will fail, and I'm not doing anything to prevent those bad decisions, at least not for now. Aside from personal needs, that money is spent on three critical things for the business: production ingredients, cost of labor, and what I'm going to loosely call research. Each business has a set of recipes for converting labor and/or ingredients into a product they can sell, and those recipes are gained by doing research, but I'm lumping in the cost of any infrastructure or equipment needed to produce those recipes in with the research. So some recipes might not actually require ingredients. If all the infrastructure is built for an asteroid mining operation, it just requires labor to keep producing resources. Or some might involve automated assembly lines and not require any labor, just ingredients. Some recipes will also unlock other recipes or replace other ones with a better version, thus simulating a sort of tech tree. But to keep things simple again, all research is chosen completely at random, and even the decision to do research is random. The rest of the time the business will spend its money on producing goods, and it decides what to produce by calculating the profit up front, looking at the current market price and the cost of the ingredients and labor required. The cost of labor is where it gets a little bit complicated because not all employees are paid the same. When hiring from the unemployed pool, each industry has a default starting wage, but businesses can also expand by poaching employees from another company as long as they beat their current wage. So the first unit of labor is free, then the current employees are used in order from lowest to highest wage, then the cheapest people that could be hired from elsewhere, until either there are no profitable recipes left or the business can't afford to execute them. If some of the current employees aren't used, they'll still be paid for at least one time unit, even if the company makes a loss, but if they aren't used twice in a row, they'll be fired. If the company ever can't afford to pay what's owed, it'll start selling recipes, and if it has to sell the last recipe, it'll go out of business. Any leftover will go into the owner's pocket, who will now be unemployed. So that leaves just one piece of the puzzle: cargo ships. They'll start by exploring the galaxy at random, observing prices, and when they see a price low enough that they can sell to profit somewhere they've been before, they'll buy goods and head straight there. As long as the price is still high enough, they'll sell immediately, but if not, they'll gradually lower the threshold at which they'll sell as they continue exploring. To help the players stay competitive, since you'll need to hire crew and buy equipment for them, each cargo ship has a fixed cost every time they travel. That means cargo traders can also go broke, at which point they'll sell their ship and become unemployed. And that's pretty much it for the economy simulation. Now my video schedule is still a bit off because I was late last week and I don't want to do this any more often than once a week, so it might be a while before I get back to doing these on Fridays. But in the meantime, it always helps if you hit the like button, spread the word, and subscribe if you haven't already, and of course, thanks for watching.